Hello, fellow pickers. My name is Mike Crafton. I'm coming to you from the eastern Sierra Nevada mountain range.
And my name is Carl Mandrill. I'm coming to you from Castle Rock, Colorado. Man, you're all over the place. I feel like you were in a different spot 2 weeks ago.
I am. I was. We're ending our trip though. We got another 2 days, and then we'll be heading home for a little while. But as you can see, I'm not in my normal office. I'm in the van. We're traveling around, sourcing for stuff, and got a couple of work trips that we're doing. So we're adding on a couple things to it.
So you're sourcing for stuff in the Eastern Sierras, is what you're saying.
We are. Every town we've driven through, I'm like, Jen, you look up a thrift store in this town, and just because it's got to be oddball stuff, right? Like driving through Lake Tahoe and find the thrift stores. Let's go to the thrift stores, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's been pretty cool. I love it.
And Jen, again, is Mike's wife, for those of you that are new to the show. And actually, I'm hoping to have Jen on the show at some point. Is she ready to join?
Not yet. I don't know if I'm ready for her to join yet.
All right. I want to say in the next 2 episodes, we got to have her on. She can chime in on the topic. So we've got a topic today. I have no idea where we're going to go with this, but it's how to find the mother load and then kind of what to do next. And so, yeah.
What are you calling the mother load? What are we?
What's the definition? The mother load. That's what everybody's after, right?
Right.
What's the definition? What's your definition?
My definition, because I just drove through the El Dorado National Forest, the mother load, I always think of gold, right? The mother load, they strike it rich in the mother load.
So you feel like we're going to be making an episode about how to find gold?
Yes, we're going to make an episode on gold panning and what to do. No, you don't want to do an episode on gold panning?
All right. Incorrect. I don't want to do, yeah, off brand there, my friend. What is the mother load as it relates to picking, Mike? Come on.
The mother load, it's the stuff that we find the last day of the yard sales, the good stuff, just finding whatever your niche is and just finding a ton of it at a good price. That is the mother load right there.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. I like that. A ton of something. It doesn't have to be the same item, but a ton of something. Maybe it's, a bunch of stuff at one sale, auction, whatever, but it's a ton of something and something that you know about or passionate about. And you kind of struck it rich, so to speak, with what you found, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Okay.
Have you struck a mother load yet?
So I haven't hit the mother load yet, but my buddy struck it on this one item, and I can't remember what the item is right now. It's like Listerine or Tic Tacs or no, it wasn't something that expired, but he got like 50 cases of it. It was just a ton of it. So he took one picture and just listed the quantity, and he's selling it over and over and over again. He got it
on eBay. Really selling price.
It? Yeah, on his eBay store.
Okay. Right. Wow.
But that's what I consider the mother load. Something that's a little effort, high volume, high profit, right? You got it for a great deal. That's what I'd consider the mother load.
So if you haven't, I hope you learned from your buddy, because if you haven't struck the mother load, how are you going to give people tips on how to find the mother load?
Well, okay, let me rephrase that. I've struck the mother load in little sizes. I haven't struck the big, massive gold vein yet, right?
Okay. I've definitely struck the mother load multiple times with different things, and sometimes it's just good fortune. But there's definitely some tips and tricks that I have that can increase your chances, I'll say. I mean, I've got one that's kind of oddball that I'm just curious what everybody out there, fellow pickers, are going to say in reaction to this. But
all right, let's start with number one. I'm going to go from the least likely to my most my most likely place to find the mother load. So. Number one, we've talked about before, it's liquidators, right? You got the liquidator stores, you have the Amazon liquidators, you have the Amazon return pallets, which we've talked about getting one of those things. So that's actually a good possibility that you can get a ton of stuff. And then if you're willing to take the time and you have the storage area, you can store it, go through it, take pictures of it, list it, and get rid of it, right?
Yeah, where are you with this? Why haven't you gotten one yet?
Yeah, so we're in the black for the Pickers eBay store, but we're not quite there yet, right? We've got a few more sales to go before we buy one of those big Amazon pallets.
You're saving up for it, sounds like.
Yeah, and you were going to come out to California and we're going to unload it together, weren't we? And make a big video about it.
I can't unload it if you haven't bought it, though. So you got to take, first step is you got to figure out where you're going to buy it from. Second step is you're going to actually buy it. And then third step is it's got to be delivered. I guess I'm fourth step, but yeah, I'd be excited to do that for sure.
So step number one is you have to give me a date when you're going to be in California. Then I'll have it there when you get there, right? I'm
We
not going to
could.
buy this thing and then wait for you to fly out to California.
Is this really contingent on me? Like you're afraid to do this solo?
I definitely want to do it with you.
It's more fun for sure. I just didn't know if it was
Yeah.
contingent on me.
No, I mean, if we get down the road and it's just not working out that you get out to California, then I'll go ahead and buy one. And okay.
All right, we'll see. Okay, so you're saying liquidators, and I don't know that we have. Yeah, I don't know that we have the pipeline for the best liquidators out there. We explored that in one of our earlier episodes, and we don't have a conclusion. So if you do, if you have a good liquidator that you don't mind sharing, we would be interested in that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay, so my tip number one for how to find the mother load is the one that I found a couple mother loads. I think I found one or two, and that is just searching out eBay and Craigslist lots, like the word lots, where they're selling basically a whole collection of things or like items, hopefully something that you're experienced in because you're going to be spending some money doing this and searching out. So one way to do that specifically on Craigslist, kind of in your local area, is whatever that your specialty is you just, whatever you're searching at periodically to find that on Craigslist, you just have like save searches where you get notifications when something new is posted, with that phrase or with those phrases that you put in there. And that way you can be one of the first ones to respond and, make an offer and go get the item. So I need to do that more frequently, I would say. And I bought some electronics lots that way, but you're typically spending hundreds of dollars. You're going to be spending a lot of money up front. That's probably true no matter what we're doing here. You're spending hundreds of dollars. You got to be willing to do that. That's kind of part of the deal with how to find the mother load, is being willing to spend the cash. And so searching out lots. eBay, I found some. They're a little bit harder to come by, and there's a lot more competition, obviously, but it is still possible. Again, it depends on what your specialty is. If your specialty is not as, there's not as much competitiveness to it, then maybe that's a good solution.
And the reason why these people are selling lots on eBay is what it could be that they were a reseller and now they got a regular full-time job with the corporation, or they just don't want to resell anymore. Is that what you're talking about?
So it could be collection. So, collection of something for, they've been collecting for a while. They're trying to get out of it. It could be that they're liquidating themselves. They didn't hire liquidators, but maybe it's some sort of office and they have a bunch of extra stuff, whether it's, computers or something. And they're just like, hey, come and get this. And they're just trying to sell, in bulk, but they don't want to have a third party come in and do that. It just depends.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So
nice.
That's my number one. All right. Number two, what you got?
Number two kind of goes along with yours. You made me a little nervous with some of the wording that you had on there, but mine is store clearances, and it's kind of like that, but it's actually the physical store that is going out of business, right? So like, I don't know if you remember a few years back, Radio Shack went out of business, sold all their inventory, and people still need all those little gadgets and doodads, right? That Radio Shack was selling. Right. And not only can you find that at the clearance stores, but you can find furnishings at the clearance stores. So those metal shelves that go together, you can find light fixtures, find chairs, office furniture, all that stuff that you're talking about. And it's kind of odd to me because I hear people talking about, it's called retail arbitrage, right? They go to Kohl's or something like that and they buy something that's marked way down, and then they turn around and sell it on eBay. And I'm like, how are you getting full price from this when they're selling it at the store for half price? It's like maybe the person doesn't have that type of a store in their area or something like that, and they think that this is a really good deal.
Well, typically, a lot of times it's half price online too. So it has to be something that's not available online that they're just running low on. Yeah, I don't know. You have to know your stuff for that.
Yeah, and that's why I went with the clearance store or a closeout at a store, at a physical store.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for the stores closing type of things. My buddy tells me about them all the time. Tells me about all the great deals that he picks up and all that brand new packaging stuff, man. I would love that. I would consider a good motherload haul right there from
for sure.
So
I think you're more likely to get a good deal if they are, again, liquidating themselves and they haven't hired a third party. If you hire third party liquidators, they're like 30% off, but really it's like 30% increase in price over what it was. And it's a scam. That's a scam.
No, what I'm talking about is literally a store that's going out of business, not a going out of business sale like you're talking about, but actual going out of business.
Okay. Well, got to pay attention then to that stuff for sure. But you can definitely find, the Motherload there. Even like restaurants and stuff. That's some of that restaurant equipment and getting on that. So that's a good one. I like that one. My number 2 is asking. You just ask.
Ask for the Motherload?
Yeah. You don't ask specifically by using the word Motherload, like, pardon me, do you have a Motherload of such and such? No, that's weird. That's like socially awkward. No, you ask. So if you're at like a sale or, whatever it is, typically this is like best at a garage sale, but you just say like, hey, do you have such and such, whatever your specialty item is? Assuming, of course, that what your specialization is in is something that's like appropriate to ask about. So if you're like a big clothing person, you're not going to be going through somebody's closet, of course. That's weird. If you're somebody who's like, I specialize in high-end video production equipment, that's not common for people to have. So again, that's like weird to ask. It has to be something that's like, you're pretty sure that's stored away. My example is the iPods, where I used to ask for those all the time. And frequently they pull some out. Sometimes they pull out, a few of them. And I guess you could call it a Motherload by the end of the day. I had quite a few on hand that I could sell for a chunk of change. And so, something that they might just, maybe something that's gone out of style that people just have sitting around, whether it's old technology or something that you don't mind asking about.
So like Christmas decorations, would that be something that you would look for?
Frost the Snowman, door hangers for sure, 100%.
That's right. Yes, Christmas.
I will warn you though. What's that?
Now that we're talking about this out loud, I'm a little afraid that I'm getting into the being a Christmas expert, I guess you'd say, man. It's scaring me a little bit because I don't like Christmas that much.
You don't like Christmas that much? Mike is the Grinch. I will warn you though that one thing that people have laying around typically that may not be worth your time are phones. And oh my goodness, I think you're safe. I don't even know if you're safe, at least for the older Samsung phones or Androids. I think those are pretty safe because you can reset them. But trying to like watch somebody struggle with their Apple ID to log into the iPhone and then have to wait the half an hour for them to reset it.
It's
not worth it. It's not worth it. And so I've gotten stuck a few times where I'm like, how can I get out of here? And the person feels so bad, but they still like, no, it's almost done. Blah, blah, blah. And I just like, I just need to walk away. And I just don't have that. I didn't have that ability at the time. Now I'd be like, you are wasting my time. I need to leave. So, that's just kind of beware on that one.
Great advice. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Jeez.
All right. Number 3, what you got?
All right. My number 3 and my best one, this is where I found my Motherloads, is I love the half price sale at either state sales or the last day of yard sales. There's a few reasons, because one, so my typical MO is I'll go to the yard sale or the estate sale first day, see what's going on, see if there's anything, hot that I see right away that I can pick up and flip. But also just kind of recognizing what's going on at the estate sales. And then at the half price sale, you just go in and most of the time, a lot of stuff is still there that everybody's just kind of passed over, like brand new parts and bags, or I don't know, just all kinds of stuff. I found all kinds of stuff. And it's not a Motherload of one specific item, but it's just a ton of stuff for a screaming deal, right? If it's not half price, you can just half the time make a deal with these guys, because even at yard sales, especially at yard sales, they don't want to pack this stuff back up and take it into the Goodwill or anything like that. So they're almost giving it to you, asking you to take it away for them.
Right. Okay. So I'm trying to think of how often I've found that. I've definitely gone to those last days. I don't actually, the estate sales where they like have things like firmly priced, there's no negotiating. I don't like those as much, but I have found some stuff. I think I found some weights one time, half price, that were still laying around, and I bought it for, I don't know, $20 for a whole weight set, and did pretty well with that. But yeah, that's I like that one. That works. So I don't think
half price last days. Half price last days. They're always my favorite to go to.
Gotcha. I don't think I shared that with my last tip though. I have found by asking, that was my second tip. I have found quite a few Motherloads by asking for some specific things where they pull things out. And if you know to ask for it, for me, the ratio is like 1 out of every 8 houses I was able to get somebody to pull it out. Not the Motherload, but just periodically, I'd hit the Motherload basically. So
right. Yeah, anyway. I actually watched you do that when I was yard selling with you when I went and visited you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was like a small Motherload. That was pretty good. But All right. So the last one I haven't fully researched. I've only partially researched in like my own niche, and that's you can buy in bulk on the Alibaba website. Are you familiar?
Oh, I have been seeing that. Yes.
Okay.
Are they as screaming of deals as what I've seen like on TikTok and Facebook?
So yeah, you might know more about that. I think I looked at phones and I looked at video game cartridges.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they have some good deals, and you buy in bulk, so you can buy whatever, 10 of the same up to
Mm-hmm.
like 10,000 of the same. And so,
Mm-hmm.
but here's the issue, here's the controversy is that it's unclear what's authentic and what's not. So I would just
Yeah.
assume that if it doesn't say authentic, it's not authentic, right? So then you're now, a third party to reselling knockoff goods. And so you
Yeah.
have to be very careful with what you're actually buying. And so, and what products you're actually selling and which ones have
Mm-hmm.
copyright, trademark, patents, all that stuff. It just depends upon what you sell and how authentic it is. If they're actually
Mm-hmm.
literally reproducing it there in China, then you're basically breaking the law.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't
Yeah.
explored the site thoroughly enough to know what's legit and what's not. But if
Mm-hmm.
if whatever you're an expert in is legit, you can like that could be something for you.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that. I've seen that idea quite a bit. And, I've kind of also wanted to play around with FBA fulfilled by Amazon, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm nervous. I think I want to get my handle on eBay first, and then I might jump over to doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But what have you explored that at all?
Not I'm not there yet, but I was looking at the Alibaba stuff seriously today. I was like, I was actually going to come on the show and show you a link and say, hey, should we do something like this? Should we go in on something like this? Spend whatever a couple $100, sample it
Mm-hmm.
out, and then as I was doing more research, I was discovering that what I was going to buy was going to be illegal.
Oh.
So yeah, it would be. I don't know if it's illegal for me to buy it since it's coming from out of country or if it's illegal from I don't know. I don't know how that knockoff works, but I know that for me to resell it. But then I looked it up on eBay and I saw that people were reselling those things.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't trying to like package them as authentic. They packaged them as reproductions,
Mm-hmm.
but the reproduction is still like a copyright issue specifically.
Yeah.
And so I found out like one company specifically Nintendo was coming after a lot of people that were trying to, basically violate their
Yeah.
copyright stuff. And they were coming after, I think they tried to prosecute in 16 different countries, and they're trying to
Mm-hmm.
shut down factories in China, which who knows how that's going to go. But
Right.
so that's why mine's very controversial, and so you have to do your own research for that. I might be speaking like super naively, where they're like all of it's junk on that site. I have no idea. That's just what I have
Mm.
found so far.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's definitely worth exploring. But I'm telling you what, if you get me in trouble, if you give me an idea and you get me into trouble, I'm gonna be upset with you.
Do your own research. Do your own. I have not bought from the site. This is just something that I found when I was trying to figure out different ways to find the motherload. I was trying to get creative, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is a solution.
Yeah.
I figure I'd throw it out there, and people that have experience with this or maybe know more about the law than I do
Mm-hmm.
can respond and put it in the comments on YouTube if you're watching, or
Yep.
feel free to reach out to us on Instagram. Everything we got listed in our show description.
Yep.
So
Awesome. Good
yeah,
stuff. And
yeah,
speaking of comments, a lot of our listeners have been reaching out recently on leaving us comments in different areas. A couple emails, a few comments
yeah.
on our YouTube videos. It's great.
Okay, good deal. Yeah, and we
Ye-
actually got a couple new reviews, which we'll get to here in a little bit.
Yes.
But we're rooting for everybody to get the motherload out there and something. You're gonna have to spend some cash. You're gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
take a little bit of risk, especially if you're not an expert in the area. But it's a lot of fun. We know that. Let's see. We talked to a couple folks on our show already who've struck the motherload in different areas, and it doesn't always work out, right? Remember
Yeah.
who was it? Was it Rachel that what was her name?
She bought all those movie posters.
Movie posters. She found the motherload
Yeah.
and then kind of got
Yeah.
scammed when all the good ones were set
Yep.
aside. And yeah, it doesn't work for
Yep.
everybody. But
Yep.
all
Be
right, I'm
careful.
back out. I'm back out on the picking circuit, my friend. I got a few things of
Nice.
note. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any
What do you
stories
got?
first? I don't want to just say like listen to my stories. That's weird. Do you have any stories first to share? Anything from
Just
the week?
I think the most interesting thing is that I never thought about, as we're driving through new towns
Mhm.
to look up thrift stores. You're in a new area, you're in a new climate,
Yeah.
you're getting new stuff that's not your normal stuff that you're going to be listing. And I like to have a bunch of different stuff on my eBay store just to see what sells and what I want to sell. So it's always nice to find different stuff.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Okay. I like that. That's a good tip.
Yep.
All right. So I got a couple things that has happened in the last week or so.
Okay.
I had some interesting negotiations. I'm curious your thoughts on this.
Okay.
So like first sale in forever I went to. First sale in a while. I roll up, I find 3 items I want to buy. Total price $7.
And you negotiated them down.
Let me tell the story, Mike. I'll ask you. You don't know how much these are worth. You don't know if that's a good deal or not. I don't even know. Like, I was guessing on a couple items, to be honest. Actually, I was guessing, I think, on all 3 of the items. One of them was like a Generation 1 iPad. Who knows? Is that like they had that for $5? Anyway, whatever. So I go into my wallet and find it, and I should have been more prepared, but I find out that my change has been scavenged from another member of my family who was handing out allowances. And I was like, dang it, I'm usually really prepared with change.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm so sorry. Do you have change for 20? And it's like early in the day. And she's like, no. And I was like, so I started digging around more in my wallet, and I was like, I got $6. And I'm like, will you take 6? Basically, I'm negotiating down from $7 to $6. Is that fair to do, Mike? Well, 7 to 6. Come on.
You heard my reaction when you said, when I thought that you negotiated from 7, but in your instance, yeah, it's perfectly fine. You only had $6.
Yeah.
Asking for $6, it's no big deal.
Not at all. Yeah. She didn't like that. So she ended up just like digging around, got me like dollar coins and found the change for the 20. So it worked out in the end, but she did not. And I asked her again, I was like, are you sure? Like, I just got the $6 right here, ready to go. It's $1. What's $1 in today's market? With all the inflation, $1's not worth a whole lot. I can't even buy a candy bar at $1 anymore. And she's like, no.
So it must have been really early in the sale then, right? Probably first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Like first thing in the morning. Yeah, she wasn't ready to get rid of stuff yet.
$1. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. No. So that was, I was like, and it happened again where I negotiated down $1 on something, and the person said yes, but like very begrudgingly, like, and I was like, if I can't negotiate down from $1 to garage sale from the list price, like, what is happening? What world am I in? Anyway, I thought that was kind of funny.
Well, I think it's exactly the world that we're living in, because that's why we're doing this podcast, is because people need a second source of income or more income, right? Like you said, the dollar is not going as far as it used to. So everybody's, holding on to it and trying to make it go as far as it can. So
not a garage. Yeah. People dude, we talked about this. People that are selling at garage sales are trying to get rid of stuff. Like, that is their number one goal. If they're trying to make money, they should be selling on other places like eBay, Craigslist, Facebook.
Yeah.
It's pretty common knowledge nowadays. Yeah.
When I do a yard sale, I'm trying to do both. I'm trying to make money and get rid of stuff.
Okay. Well, questionable. All right. So that's story number 1. Story number 2, more social awkwardness. I have my wife with me, and we're rolling around, and we roll up to a garage sale. We're following the signs, and then we find the sign, like, in the yard, on the corner in the yard. And the family has like all this stuff laid out on the driveway, and they're pulling more stuff out. And my wife sees some shovels, and she's like, we actually do need new shovels. I was like, all right, we can get a good deal on shovels. Cool. So I pull up, I get out of the car, and I walk up, and it's this married couple, and they're giving me the weirdest look, like, what's going on? Why are you walking towards me? What's happening right now?
Oh, no.
And I was like,
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah. I was like, I'm like, how much do you want for your shovels? And they're like, wait, what? This isn't a garage sale. I know this has happened to other folks out there, where somebody happens to be cleaning out their garage in a very organized manner on the same day as like a Saturday or Sunday near a garage sale, or even in a community. And anyway, they had a garage sale sign in their yard, dude, their yard. And they're looking at me like, what are you doing? Isn't that on them? Like, they have a garage sign in their yard. What are you doing?
Did you point to the sign and say, look, it's a garage sale?
No, they said it. They're like, oh yeah, I know that we have a sign in our yard. Somebody put that there. because it was pointing up the street, and I was like,
gotcha.
Yeah. Then why are you if you know the signs in your yard, why are you surprised I got in my car to buy some of yours? Anyway, kind of funny.
Man, do you know how many more people probably stopped by their house while they're cleaning out their garage too? Jeez.
Right. So
I wonder if they went and kicked over the yard sale sign after that.
Probably. This is not the first time this has happened. I've definitely rolled up on people, and they look confused, and they're like, "This is not a garage sale." I'm like, "Okay, well, this is got a community sale going on." All right. Anyway, kind of funny.
Wow.
Those were kind of my two big funny things that happened recently. So
those aren't just funny; those are hilarious, man. I'm glad you told me those stories. Those are awesome.
A lot of social awkwardness for sure.
Yep.
I did score
glad
some.
To hear that you're glad to hear that you're back out on the yard sale. I guess all the snow's melted in Colorado.
I mean, where I live, not in the mountains, but sure. Yeah, definitely back out there. And I haven't found the Motherload yet, but I found a few things here and there. I'm trying to think if I found anything interesting. We talked about weights last episode. Found some weights. Yeah, got a good deal there. And anyway, so do you want to hit the reviews?
Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about a couple of reviews that we got. So over on Apple Podcasts, you can leave us a review. It kind of generates momentum for our show and gets us up higher in the rankings and in the search. And we got one from Caleb's Pedals. Now, a little disclosure.
You do that Caleb one.
So a little disclosure. Caleb is a really good friend of mine, but he's also he's not one of those guys that's going to hold any punches. So he gives me honest reviews about what's going on with our podcast. And he says that he likes to throw our podcast on. He builds guitar pedals, and he says they'll throw one of our podcasts on while he's building the pedal and just check it out. And he said it's like catching up with old friends was the title of his review. Nice.
That's nice.
Yep. Thanks for listening, buddy. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I like that you revealed that he's one of your friends. I would have just pretended like we're just doing so well that we just have people pouring in from all over the place.
Yep.
But we're not with the reviews. We're not. We need the friends. So I need to have my friends leave reviews. But the next one is from pretty recent. So this is from Mr. Gims. And we don't know who Mr. Gims is. So thanks for listening, Mr. Gims. He says 10 out of 10. Great show. Wow. Thank you. Lots of interesting insights and great points about starting. He's currently binging all of our episodes. There's not that many to binge. I think this is episode 18 is what we're at. And
that's where we're at.
He's starting to resell. So he's starting to kind of source and do that sort of thing. And his wife has a spreadsheet and then he wanted to know if we could elaborate on vintage because he feels that it's getting to be very broad term. And it is a broad term, right? Like people use it just to reference something that's old and junky or just old or antique. How do you define vintage, Mike?
Right. So, that's a good question. And it's something that I've often struggled with too. And the way that I look at it, for me, vintage is going to be something from my childhood. Okay. So like when I'm looking for Tupperware, I'm looking for the Tupperware my mom used. When I look for the toys, I'm looking for toys that I used to play with. That's vintage. So 20 to 30 years old. Antique, and I apologize to the boomers out there, but it's going to be something in the boomer generation, right? So it's going to be probably 50 years and beyond is something that I'm going to consider an antique, right?
Okay.
And don't worry, in another 10 years, all my stuff's going to be antique. So don't get your feelings hurt.
And that's just Mike's definition, but I think I would just generally agree. And I don't know when I would use the word vintage unless I was really unsure that it was going to sell because I don't know who's searching the word vintage unless I bet it's more of like an eye-catching thing. Like, oh, I want something vintagey. I don't know. Yeah. So my big purchase from this past weekend was an old camcorder, which at first glance you would not want to buy. It came in a nice case, but it wasn't like, it's just, one of those VHS camcorders.
Right.
So that's probably vintage. From the 90s. And so I wouldn't assume that it's very valuable. But it looked like a high quality one. And so I looked it up and it turns out it's selling for anywhere from $150 to $200. And so I was like, oh, okay. Man. Yeah. So, but when I list it, I'm just going to list it as like what it is. I'm not going to put the word vintage. I'm just going to list it as, just like
interesting
Panasonic, whatever model. So, Yeah.
But like Mr. Gims was saying, everybody is using the word vintage these days, so it's almost oversaturated. And when I see it, I'm like, oh, great, what's this? Is it really vintage, or is it just
Right.
using the word to try to catch my eye?
Right. And so if that's kind of like your specialty where you're selling vintage things, then you're probably using vintage like all the time, maybe in all your listings, but you might have some sort of vintage store or Instagram or something that where people know like this is where I can go to get these types of things. If you sell things like kind of all over the place, like what Mike's doing, and something happens to be vintage, yeah, I would guess it'd be harder to sell as a result.
Right. Speaking of that, we have a listener, Bad Madge, down in San Diego, and they actually have a vintage clothing store, which I'm really interested in. They got a lot of great quality stuff. I love seeing their videos over on Instagram. But yeah,
Bad Madge, I
so
like that name.
that's something I would list as vintage. In vintage is vintage clothing, 70s, 90s
That's
style
true.
stuff.
Yeah,
I would consider that, calling that vintage for sure.
that's a
And
good.
Tupperware. I'm always putting vintage on
Enough about
Tupperware.
the Tupperware. Nobody cares about the Tupperware. Stop talking
You'll
about it.
you'll care when it funds our Amazon return pallet we're gonna buy.
You're right. I will care then. That's correct.
Yeah, you will.
But what I was just saying though was that like they have a vintage store, so like you can go there expecting vintage, and it really is, like
Exactly.
from childhood or a
Yeah.
different decade or whatever. So that actually makes sense.
Yeah.
And but you're right. But that aside, I think clothing is a great thing to term vintage. That's a good call.
Mm-hmm.
I always think of toys too for some reason, like vintage
Yeah.
Tonka truck.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Oh, you remember those old metal Tonka trucks? Man, I want to find
I
one of those at a yard sale
you'll
someday.
find one. I see those things
Oh, do
frequently.
you?
Yeah.
No, I always find the plastic ones, and I'm always hoping it's the metal one.
And you know
I'd
what you got to
love
do to
to.
find the motherload of Tonka trucks? You just got to ask. I see plastic ones here. Do you have any metal ones from your childhood laying around?
Yeah. Do you have any of those death metal ones that you don't want your kids getting hurt with and getting into
Right, right. The
stitches?
ones that are rusty and sharp.
Exactly. Nice hard
Oh my
edges.
gosh. Okay.
Cool. That's
All
great
right.
stuff. Thanks, Mr. Gims, for listening.
Thank you. All right. I got motherload trivia. You ready for that?
Absolutely. Yeah. What
Okay.
you got?
I think it's actually your turn for trivia, but too bad. I'm doing trivia. You weren't ready, so now you're at risk for another trivia loss.
All right. Let's do it.
Here we go. You got to get 2 out of 3. Number 1.
Okay.
This motherlode of treasure is supposedly buried on a Canadian island.
Oak Island.
Oak Island, Oak Island treasure, correct. They have like
Nice.
10 seasons of a TV show going on Oak Island. They're trying to find the motherlode. They've already spent like, I'm guessing over $10 million in
Oh
the
my
process. They've
gosh.
already spent the motherlode to find the motherlode.
Mm-hmm.
And I got kind of sucked in early on in the show. Did you watch that show at all?
Yeah, me too. And I
Okay.
don't know what it is that sucks you into that show either, because they never find anything. I don't know. I don't know
Well, they
how they
find like
keep
little
it
trinkety
themselves.
things and they make it like a really big deal.
Yeah.
A piece of paper from the 1400s? Does this mean that the Knights Templar brought paper to the island? Could this be one of
Exactly.
Shakespeare's original manuscripts? Like it's one of those
Yep.
types of things. So yeah, at this point, season 10, like they literally like nothing is happening and they're making episodes about it.
No.
So I don't know. I'd be
They're
ashamed
doing
of.
something. They're doing something right if they have 10
I
seasons
know.
of this thing and not find anything
If I
other
was
than
the
like some
star of that
old
show, I
Hallmark
would
one.
be proud in the first 5 seasons, and by season 10, I'd be ashamed.
Jeez.
Anyway, all right, that was number 1, correct. Number
That's great.
2, this motherlode of ET video games, the Atari version, was buried in which state after production? A, Colorado, B, New Mexico, C, Nevada.
What? What kind of a question is this?
This is like okay, if you're a picker, you know this story. People are grinding their teeth at that question of this question. ET was overproduced. They buried
Okay.
it they buried it literally a bunch of cartridges in the ground.
Wow.
They made a
I didn't
big
know that.
deal about it. They overproduced it. They had way too many, no demand. They just buried them. I think it's since been dug up by somebody who's looking for them.
All right. Well, since Nevada seems to bury everything like nuclear waste and propellers and everything else, I'm gonna go with Nevada. ET is buried in Nevada.
ET buried in New Mexico.
That was a new
Yeah,
word. Darn it.
that one, I wasn't sure if you knew that one. That's why I gave you multiple choice.
Oh.
But that one is, true story. That's back in the 80s. Yeah, disaster video game. So kind
Oh.
of, yeah,
I
fun
used to
story.
have that one. I actually liked that game.
Okay.
That was a
Well,
disaster.
I mean, yeah, they overproduced it, so I don't know why they buried him. I don't know the story behind that. I have to look that back up. But you got to get this next one right to pass.
All right, next one I get right.
All right. This motherload of knockoffs can be found in which country? Just knockoffs
Taiwan.
in general. You think Taiwan produces the most knockoffs?
Yes.
I'll give you a hint. We talked about the company Alibaba, and they're based out of this country.
China.
There you go.
China produces the most knockoffs.
They do.
No, they have those knockoff markets in Taiwan. That's the only reason.
Oh yeah, China's not the only place. They just have the most in China because they're bigger and they've got more factories. So.
Yep. And
who knows? Taiwan might be part of China one day. So we'll see.
Oh jeez. I thought we talked about not getting political on this show. Come on.
That's not political. That's just true, man. They're trying to take Taiwan back up. Right. My brother married a Taiwanese girl, and so I'm very plugged into how that's going for sure. So
we better go visit Taiwan before it's not Taiwan anymore and it becomes China.
Unless you trust, it depends on how comfortable you are visiting China, I suppose.
No, I want to visit Thai. I don't want to visit China. I want to visit Thailand.
You don't want to go buy knockoffs from China?
No.
From Alibaba, the source. China. Does Alibaba have like a store, some sort of like brick and mortar store? I don't know. Probably not.
No, it's got to be all online. And I think their website is horrible too. It's just really old and 1990s looking.
It wasn't the best. I didn't think it was that terrible. I couldn't refine my search. For example, to find verified sellers, but I found what I was looking for. I don't know.
Cool. I'll have to check it out. I've been kind of wanting to do that too. Or I've been interested in investing more money into stuff and looking for areas that I can invest more money into it.
All right. Well, my friend, that's all I got. Fellow pickers, go find your own motherload one story at a time.
And remember, it's not reselling if you're not finding the motherload.